Mike McCool here in the Royal Examiner Studio, and with me today I have a couple ladies from the Warren County Public School System. We have here Heather Bragg. She's the Assistant Superintendent for Instruction, and Denise Walton, you are the Testing Coordinator. Is that right?
That's correct.
All right, so today we're going to talk a little bit about accreditation. I understand the accreditation list came out last week or so, and we some of our schools have, a few little issues we need to talk about. So
Sure.
Who wants to start and tell us about accreditation? First of all, tell us what accreditation really is and what it means.
Sure. So I'll get us started. State accreditation is released from the Virginia Department of Education, and it is a set of indicators, academic, chronic absenteeism for high schools, things like graduation rates, that indicate how the school is performing across those different functions. And so Denise is going to go into a little bit of how that determination is made from the state. Okay. I wanted to share up front exactly where we are and where our schools are identified at. Okay. So the state released the new accreditation for this school year, 24-25. That's our accountability year, but the numbers are based off of data from last school year. Okay. So all the assessments are from the 23-24 school year. And we have 5 schools that are accredited with conditions, and 4 of our schools are fully accredited. Okay. Our schools that are accredited with conditions include E. Wilson Morrison and LFK, Skyline Middle School, Skyline High School, and Warren County High School. And there's a number of different indicators as to why they're accredited with conditions. It's not all of the same. Our secondary schools, it's primarily science. Our elementary schools, there's some math achievement gap issues. So we can talk more in detail as we move along.
Right. Some of those schools I've recognized as being on this list before. They
are, and schools can be re-identified every year for different categories. So it's not always the same category. Right. So some of our schools, like E. Wilson Morrison and Skyline Middle School, have been on the list before, and we continue to work on our areas of need to help improve them and get them to where they need to be.
You've made a lot of changes in both those schools over the last year or so we'll see how that goes.
We have.
All right.
We have,
Denise?
Okay, I just wanted to go over what accreditation means and what it's made up of. Okay. There are 9 indicators. All of our schools have the first 6 indicators, and then the other 3 are just for the high schools. Okay. So there's achievement in English, math, and science, and then achievement gap in math and English, and that's your subgroups, where they look at the 9 different subgroups and break it down by that, and then chronic absenteeism. And then our high schools have the graduation completion index, a dropout rate, and then a college career civic readiness index that they also have. Each of those indicators then is assigned a level 1, a level 2, a level 3. And they color code them for us to make it nice.
Make it really easy.
Yes.
You don't want to see the red, right?
Exactly.
That's right.
So a level 1 is green, and a level 2 is yellow, and a level 3 is red.
It's always the red.
Yeah, absolutely.
So think of the stoplight.
Yep.
And then, based on those levels, then you get assigned accredited with conditions. An accredited means you have all level 1s and 2s, or all greens and yellows. And then accredited with conditions, you could just have 1 level 3 or all 9 indicators if you're a high school could be level 3. Right. So there's a wide interpretation of what exactly does accredited with conditions mean.
And is there a non-accredited?
There is accreditation denied, but that means you haven't put forth your
requirements and
expectations. Sorry, I was trying to think of what the word is.
You're not working towards improvement.
Right.
I think you're trying hard to not be accredited if you get accreditation denied.
So it's pretty rare?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. We've never been there?
We have.
Oh, that's good.
No, absolutely. And we will not be.
That's right. We will not be. If we are, we'll be looking at 2 new assistants.
There you go. Let's hope we don't go down that road. And one of the things, Denise mentioned the subgroups, the achievement gap. You'll hear that with E. Wilson Morrison, Leslie Fox Kaiser, and Skyline Middle School. They all 3, one of their level 3 identifiers is the math achievement gap. And that is where the subgroups break down by race, students with disabilities, socioeconomic status. And this came up a little bit with the community last year in the spring when they did the ESSA identification for federal identification. There was some concern about labeling race groups and things like that. And just so everyone understands, that practice has been in place since going back to No Child Left Behind, that there have always been those groups, race, economic status, students with disabilities. And the purpose behind that is not to categorize students, but to ensure that all students are making achievements so that you don't have a situation where you're constantly getting achievement, based off of, your predominantly white students or, predominant group. It's not done in a way to be, derogatory or negative, but it's done in a way to ensure that all students are achieving, and that's what we're working towards.
Right. The tide lifts all boats, right?
That's right. That's exactly right.
Now, we know, like at E. Wilson, their students have a tendency to serve an area that are lower in income, for instance, because of the parts of town that's included in that. So that makes it, that goes back to that social economic time. And we have a lot of single parents, and there's a lot of factors that play into home life makes a big difference, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And one of the indicators that is at all schools, all levels, is the chronic absenteeism rate.
Right. I think like that's always been. If you're not there, you can't learn.
Absolutely. And it is probably one of the best areas for us to have and achieve that parent-school system relationship, because we do need parents supporting their students and getting to school so that they are in the classroom to learn. And then it's our responsibility to provide, engaging, rigorous instruction during the time that they're there. But chronic absenteeism is something that was on accreditation last year. We had lots of red, level 3 last year. We have improved at all elementary and middle schools. They're level 1 green for chronic absenteeism this year. We're still struggling at high school. Both high schools are level 3 chronic absenteeism.
Right. When I've talked to the principal, I can remember at Warden County, getting them in the doors. And like you say, they've tried a lot of different things, and I personally, I think one of the best things they've done is stand at the door and welcome them in the door. And it's surprising, we're watching you, we're here for you, and I think it's kind of like the parents being at home when you get home from school. Even though they don't do anything, the fact that you see them there and they're there for you, and I think that's the same thing at the school. I
think one thing about chronic absenteeism, too, that people don't understand or have a hard time with is that it's all absences. It doesn't matter if they're excused or unexcused.
Right.
So if you miss more than 10% of the school year, you are considered a chronic absenteeism.
Right. I know we have truancy officers, but we don't have very many, do we? I think we have 2.
2.
Yeah, it seems like they're working overtime. So what can we do to help that? I mean, I don't really notice kids running the streets anymore like they did when I was in high school.
Sure. Sure. Well, I think, again, chronic absenteeism is a partnership. It does start at home, and encouraging your student to attend. It's hard for all of us to roll out of bed at 6 o'clock in the morning and get the day started.
Right.
And so having that encouragement, understanding the importance of being in class, and to have those experiences. Yes, there is work that you can make up at home and that sort of thing, but what they're missing is that engagement with their peers, that more in-depth conversation. It's beyond just the completion of notes or or worksheet or something like that. And I think that if our students are in our classrooms and in our buildings getting that input from their teachers, that input from their peers, we're going to see academic achievement data extend, beyond where it is in some places. Like take science, for instance. Science is an issue of concern at all levels, elementary, middle, and high school. The division has been very focused on promoting the doing of science in the classrooms. That it does need to be more than just a list of it. Absolutely.
Very much.
And those students need those experiences and lab experiments, to connect that vocabulary too. Just a list of words, chapter after chapter, most of us aren't going to probably remember or relate to that. And so we have been very focused on the doing of science. We recently purchased at the beginning of this year a lot of lab materials for our schools. The elementary schools at kindergarten and first grade got live butterfly and ladybug kits so that they could hatch those and and kind of see that process. At high school, we purchased like DNA models and synthetic blood typing kits to give them the opportunities to do some experiments that align with our SOLs so that they do have something to attach that learning to.
We're making it interesting, I think, and all of us, we do things that we're interested in.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the thing, is to open people, give them the examples of saying, a lot of people, including adults, really don't know a lot of these things you just touched on, and when they sit and they can be amazed.
Yep.
I'm sure that that's the case. So I think that's I can remember my daughter telling me, "Oh, I'm bored. School's boring." I said, "Only boring people are bored. Get to school."
Yes, absolutely, and just creating that environment where students are welcome and that they're able to express ideas and opinions and learn new things is what we're trying to do.
Are we blaming some of this truancy on COVID? Is that still I noticed kids didn't come to school, so they kind of get in the habit of
it definitely made that
But I think
easier.
enough time is
I would agree. I think enough time has passed, and we also have we do offer Virtual Virginia as an option for those students who continue to choose an online learning option alongside their parents.
And that doesn't count against the truancy then?
It doesn't count against truancy. Now, those students do have to complete SOL tests and things like that. So they're still held accountable for the instruction in the same way that our in-person students are. I do think, like Denise said, the COVID piece of it, I think, became sort of the norm of what students and
kind of
families
crutch,
got used to. And so there has been transition out of that. And to that re-engagement of having conversations with people and sitting in groups and doing collaborative work that we had to get away from during COVID.
We're seeing that even in industry now.
Absolutely.
Back to the office. That's kind of like school. Back to school.
Yes.
I think it's the same thing. There is a certain thing you learn in the fellowship one with another. I think that's what it is.
100% agree. And and the state continues to talk about the profile of a Virginia graduate, and communication and collaboration and citizenship are 3 pieces. The other 2 are creative and critical thinking, and that can only happen when you're engaging with people.
Well, I do know some of the things that the school system offers, but you have alternate education for students that are just, not that they're can't grasp it, they just need another way to learn.
Yes.
Right? And so, making it interesting, maybe them hands-on. I know you have a lot of the technical school and the diversified minds and all sorts of, almost individualized instruction for almost every student in our school system.
It definitely looks different than when I was in school.
Oh, sure,
Yes.
Get back
Just
to class,
yesterday,
right?
by the way.
Yes, absolutely. And Blue Ridge Technical Center continues to be a bright spot in our instructional program.
the
The
stuff
way
that
the
goes on.
students engage, and it is because it is engaging. The students find it relevant, and they are bought into that program, and they see what it can lead to.
Yeah.
And some of those programs require you can only have a certain number of absences, and
Yes.
that means so.
Because you have to
If you want to get in there,
yeah.
if you want to get in there, you got to be there.
Yes.
Or you're taking somebody else's spot.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And those students are graduating with licenses and certifications and going into the workplace, well prepared
Right.
for what's
We have a
happening.
small percentage of this. This isn't representative, this is not a 50% of the school doing this. It's a small percentage. But we also have the other extreme. And we have a lot of top graduates that in the top, I won't say the top 1%, but you know what I'm saying, that when you notice that the graduation ceremonies, they're reading off these people that have a grade point average higher than 4.0.
Absolutely.
They come out with an associate degree.
I was going
when
to say
they
they can. We have students that will get their associate's degree before their high school grade.
Yeah. So so we do have that. So I always say,
Absolutely.
the schools are so bad. I said we're still graduating doctors and lawyers and everything else. So it's opportunity there if they just take advantage of it. And I think that's what we're talking about here. And that the school will adapt to fit individualized curriculum, so to speak, because we want every one of these children to get the most they can.
Yes.
Sure, absolutely. And, we certainly have, state mandated initiatives
Sure.
and requirements. I mean, the standards of learning for our courses, I mean,
Sure.
that is our required content. But, going beyond that, finding ways to make that creative and
Right.
engaging for students is super important. A new initiative that we have at the elementary level is the Virginia Literacy Act, which was, passed by the General Assembly in
Right.
2022, focused on science of reading, evidence-based practices in order to improve our reading skills.
Right,
And, we talk about chronic absenteeism at the high school level. Chronic absenteeism, when you're in kindergarten, first, second grade, learning to read, studies have shown if students are not on, pace for being a successful reader by the third grade, they're struggling the rest of the way.
Right.
And so, absenteeism plays a role in that too. And yeah, you're going to get sick, you're going to have late ends, you're going to have a doctor's appointment. But, it's important for parents to understand that with our younger students, how important it is to be there for that early literacy and math foundational skills.
Right. I know. So you have a few more things. I got you off track.
Oh, that's okay. I just wanted to talk about the indicators and
Right.
how it is. There's so many layers to this too, because they'll look at to determine your level, they'll look at your current year or your 3-year cumulative, and
Right.
whichever one is greater, that's the one that they use and assign.
Right.
So, and then you can also have what's called an R10, which is you reduce the failure rate from the previous year by 10%, and so that'll bump you up a level. There is also a triennial years. So once you had so many consecutive years of being accredited, then you gained your 3-year triennial. So you could, no matter, I hate to put it like this, but no matter what your scores were, you were still accredited because you were in your triennial.
Right.
So even when we talk about data, we have to remind each other, wait, why were they level 1 last year?
Right.
We just had this conversation the other day.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot of layers to
Right.
this.
Well, and also I think when parents or the public look at it, we have to inspect what we expect. And I think that's important. I don't think people realize the amount of, at the management level, that we're really spending so much time inspecting these things to make sure that we're getting the results we want.
Absolutely.
It's the same in school as it is in business or even in your home, raising your children. You always go check their room, make sure they cleaned it. You look in the closet, you look under the bed. So, that's the same principle.
Absolutely. And, in preparing for this, Denise and I had several conversations about, how do we kind of approach this, because we live it every day.
Sure.
And we're still reminding each other,
Right.
why is this way? Why is
Right,
this that
right.
way? And so, to fully explain it to the public, or think that there's an expectation that they're going to understand every nuance, I would just say reach out to your schools, reach out to central office. If you are interested in understanding data, because this data is available on the public website through the VDOE, the
Right.
school quality profiles, ask questions. I think we welcome trying to help people understand how it's determined, because it's oftentimes not as simple as what you hear in the public of, a failing school
Sure.
or a successful school.
Right.
There's a lot of pieces playing into it. And, is there work to be done? Yes.
Right.
We have strides to make and work to put in. We're working with a lot of new teachers. There's about 45 new teachers into our division this year that, are getting a lot of robust support to try to help support them in this profession, because there's a lot to it. And so, reaching out and asking questions and that sort of thing, we want to help the parents understand and help, the community understand where we're at and where we're going.
I know Dr. Ballinger is encouraging now staff to come and see us and to try to explain to parents and the public in general that, we're out there, the schools out there really wants the best for our students.
Absolutely.
And if we don't talk about it and show the good things and show the bad things, it's going to be difficult to improve. Again, parental support and community support is so important. It's more than just football, right?
Yes, yes, absolutely. It absolutely is, and making instruction a priority is of the utmost. Education is how our students can change their future.
And you throw this phrase around from Zig Ziglar: people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I think that's true for the schools, because the people that I know in the schools care a lot.
Absolutely.
And sometimes you might not see as a student, you might not think it, but I think, like you say, if you just reach out to a counselor or to a teacher, because you like some teachers better than others, and it's surprising you from my own personal experience, teachers that I thought were, could care less, actually cared a lot. And sometimes they're a little coarse, a little rough, but when you actually got one-on-one, in a private setting, you could find out that they really did, as long as you performed, they helped you. But if they're not going to force it on you. And I think that's the tree here. The key is that we need parental involvement. And if a kid thinks they're struggling, then they need to know that they can change.
Absolutely, and it's a lot of personalities, both students, staff alike, and it's a lot of relationships. And we have focused a lot on building relationships with our kids and our parents, so that they feel safe and welcome into our building, so that they can have a positive learning environment as we work towards better academic achievement.
Well, I can tell you from it's been 60 years since I've been in high school, so that'll tell you how old I am. But I look back even over the years, I thought, boy, I wish I'd have done this, or I wish I'd have taken, a better class on this, or paid more attention. All I want to do is get out, right?
Yeah.
And then when you look back, and then you also look back at teachers that influenced.
Absolutely.
It was 30 years later, I realized this one teacher I met after school, how much they influenced the things that I did in school. And it's just kind of like, you have to think about it. And I'm sure that there's students here that do the same thing. And I think that's what we're trying to do here is, we want to improve the school, and accreditation is kind of like a, like a yardstick to see what's going on. I think it's important that we need to know that I see red on the charts, and we want to eliminate that and to improve it. So even little things everyone can do is get your kid in school.
Absolutely.
I think that will cover a lot of things.
It will, and like I say, the work that we're trying to do, in the division to improve instruction, make it engaging, and help our students be able to transfer that knowledge into other things is a big part of what we're focused on as our part of the of the experience of the school experience for our kids.
You always say the graduation is the beginning, not the end.
Absolutely.
And I always try to encourage people to be lifelong learners, because if you can have that attitude in your head, in school is just a blip of your life. It's just a blip. And so they think it's going to be over. It's not. You're just getting the very tippy touch toes of the thing, right?
Just getting started.
As you're just getting started. So I think it's great. I think we need to let people know more about what's going on in our school system, because, they say, well, I don't have any kids in school. Trust me, it still affects you. That's
Absolutely.
Your workforce. That's the people who are going to take care of you when you get old. They're going to pay your Social Security.
Yes, absolutely. Those students that we have today are, our community, members and employees in the near future.
They'll be leading our community and stuff. So we want to make sure we're engaging them now, so that they'll be able to take care of us later.
Certainly.
Anything else you want to add?
I do. Well, I think we touched on it before we start filming, that everything we talked about will be different next year.
Yes, right. Yeah,
there's a new accountability.
Behind, right.
Yeah, there's a new accountability system that will be in place next year. So,
but it'll still do the same thing.
It will.
It'll tell you where you're at.
It will still be.
But it's always in the rear view mirror.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yes,
Yeah, that your accountability year is based on the previous assessment year.
Right. So there's always a lot of new changes coming out.
Yes.
I know our cell phone thing, that's a change, but it goes back to this again. It's to engage the learning, eliminate distractions. Let's get just for both the faculty and the students is to try to let's do something else to replace with that time. I think that's play games and encourage that learning,
Absolutely.
Of course, they say, well, I was watching YouTube videos, I was learning stuff.
Yeah,
sure.
And there's always a few people
Sure.
That's what I tell people here. Well, I can't, how do I do that? I said, watch YouTube.
Absolutely. So many things have their role in how we learn and education. And I think that's a big piece of what we're doing in classrooms. There are technology components to it, and, but with everything, some balance and, helping our students try to navigate what's to come in the future.
It's a shame, though, that we spend so much time on the 2%. It's kind of like our whole society, you know. The police department only engages with less than 2% of the population. And schools, a lot of this positions and things that we're doing is only really affecting us such a small, we spend a lot of time on that because it's so important for our community. All right, did we cover enough of that?
I think we did.
Okay, I just, I stole your thunder, and I appreciate, I'm sorry that we did that, but it is important, and it's very interesting to see the data, and all of a sudden the data, when it puts people on it, comes alive, and you say, you look at those small numbers, but then when you put it into students and you say, that represents this classroom full of students that are not here today, if you just talk about attendance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Denise and Heather, I appreciate you coming in.
Thank
Please
you for
come and
having
see us
us.
again, and we'll talk about the new stuff.
Okay.
And as this stuff progresses, because you measure this periodically throughout the year, is that correct?
Actually, so we'd have
Every
to take
day,
all
really.
our So we have already been looking at where we would be in the new system based on our data. The state releases templates for us to use. Right now, we've only been doing the elementary, so we'll plug our data in to see how we're comparing with that system.
It's a living document,
It
and
is.
every day can be,
Absolutely.
like you say, until you know those attendant days of that day.
Yep.
And I do know, and I don't know if people realize too, this attendance affects our federal funding, our state funding. Sure. It's an important.
It probably affects everything: achievement, graduation rate, dropout rate.
Yeah.
It plays into all of
Yeah.
it.
So we need to have parents do their part. All right. Thanks again, ladies. I really appreciate you coming in, and we'll see you again soon.
That sounds
thank
good.
you.
Thank you for having us.
Sure.